Okay, it looks like everyone has joined. So first of all, thank you everyone for making time in your day to join us today to discuss the ORRAA call for proposals. My name is Jack Stewart and I'm a program associate at ORRAA, and I'm joined by my colleagues Karen Sack and Federico Mazza. Before we begin, just a couple of housekeeping items. This session is being recorded, and when you entered the meeting, you did accept that. If you have any questions about that, please do let us know. So after a brief presentation by Karen Sack about the call for proposals, all participants will have the opportunity to ask questions about it. To ask a question, please write it in the chat, and we will then answer them during the Q&A session. And finally, to preserve bandwidth and reduce noise, we kindly ask for you to keep your camera and microphone turned off throughout the session, unless you are called upon to speak. Thank you again for joining us. And with that, I'll hand it over to my colleague, Karen Sack.
Thank you so much, Jack, and good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. I'm Karen Sack. I'm the Executive Director of the Ocean Risk and Resilience Action Alliance, or ORRAA, and it is a pleasure to have you joining with us all today. So 2 weeks ago at the UN Ocean Conference in Lisbon, the government of Canada announced with us that it was backing a new call for proposals, and that's what we're going to talk about today. In this webinar, we're going to give you an overview and all the practical information you might need to submit proposals to our call, what projects we're looking for, what we're offering, and how to apply. But just before heading into the call for proposals, I'm going to kick off this presentation just with an overview about ORRAA and talk about some of the issues that we are trying to address through our work. So basically, a healthy ocean and a stable climate, as I think all of us now know, are two sides of the same coin. The latter isn't possible without the former, and a resilient and net zero world isn't possible without a healthy and regenerating ocean. Heating, which is leading to extreme weather events, sea level rise, and adverse and significant ecosystem changes, as well as pollution, overfishing, rising levels of acidity and biodiversity loss, all jeopardize the health of the ocean. And it's clear that the flow of finance into nature positive and net zero coastal resilience needs to exponentially and rapidly increase. The gap in sustainable investment is particularly significant for small island developing states and coastal least developed countries. And so rebuilding and restoring blue nature really means focusing on protecting the critical impact buffers and biodiversity reservoirs that provide the food, social, and economic security to billions of people and businesses around the world. And that's really where ORRAA comes in, because this alliance has been uniquely designed to meet this challenge. At the heart of our mission, we are focused on building the resilience and adaptive capacity of marine and coastal ecosystems, and importantly, the coastal communities around the world that rely on them. And we do this by driving investment into ocean and coastal nature-based solutions, as well as through the mitigation of risk multipliers like overfishing and pollution. These are the solutions that are going to enable the ocean and the communities that depend on them to thrive, creating greater economic security as well as social and cultural resilience for climate vulnerable coastal communities. Our mission is really very clear. ORRAA is a multi-sector collaboration connecting international finance and insurance, governments, nonprofits, and stakeholders from the global south to pioneer the insurance and finance products that can incentivize investment into coastal and ocean nature. And our goal by 2030 is to activate at least $500 million of investment into the space, in so doing, helping to build the resilience of at least 250 million climate vulnerable coastal people. At the moment, the Alliance, which is just over 2 years old, has 56 member organizations, and they include private sector institutions that represent trillions of dollars of assets under management, public sector leaders and civil society leaders working from the ground up This all enables us to interlink policy, science, and business effectively and efficiently so that financial and insurance decisions can be made through a blue lens. Over the past few years, we've mobilized over $20 million towards coastal and ocean resilience projects from both member in-kind and monetary contributions, as well as funding from the governments of Canada, the United Kingdom, and philanthropies like the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation, the Swiss Re Foundation, and the Builders Initiative. Our work really focuses on 3 priority pathways, and they're outlined on this slide. First is financial innovation, how we can drive the creation of a new global ocean financing ecosystem, enabling a step change in the scale of finance channeled towards ocean and coastal communities and resilience. And so we've got a goal of pioneering, surfacing, and incubating at least 50 innovative and scalable finance and insurance products to protect and regenerate valuable coastal and ocean natural assets, at the same time as delivering a return on investments by leveraging and influencing public, philanthropic, and private capital. Our focus, our second pathway, is on science and research and accelerating the research and modeling on ocean risk and resilience to inform both financial innovation as well as the policy action that's needed from the finance and the public sector to reduce the impacts of climate and ocean change. We like to ensure and try to make sure that at its core, this type of research also has a gender-focused lens because of the importance of that component in all the work that we do. And finally, we have a policy and governance pathway to inform, advance, and drive public and private policy commitments and action that values nature, builds coastal resilience, and reduces ocean risk. So essentially, we've supported in the last couple of years about 33 projects directly in least developed countries and small island states, with partners working from the global south to the north and across the public and private sectors and civil society. That includes at least 26 innovative and scalable finance and insurance products. And examples of those are parametric insurance measures to protect the Mesoamerican reef, and those have been applied in Mexico, Belize, Honduras, and Guatemala. Livelihood insurance for small-scale fishers in the Philippines. Blue carbon resilience credits to account for the resilience value of blue forest ecosystems in the Bahamas and other areas such as mangroves. We're also supporting about 7 science and research projects, and again with that particular angle on gender sensitive and also looking at the social vulnerability elements for resilience projects in key vulnerable regions. So those are some of the examples of projects we've supported so far. And we're hoping through this call for proposals that we'll be able to attract many more. So we're inviting proposals for financial support to implement the next generation of innovative coastal and ocean finance and insurance products, or to develop the tools that better analyze, predict, and reduce ocean risk. And this call, as I mentioned before, is supported by the Government of Canada and will be administered by the ORRAA Secretariat. Individuals, public institutions, development finance institutions, private sector, as well as civil society are welcome to submit proposals. And so with civil society, that obviously includes non-profit organizations, think tanks, or academics. The call for proposals is now open to all innovators in the ocean climate space, provided that the projects align with the eligibility criteria that we are going to talk through today, and more detail can obviously be found at our website on oceanriskalliance.org. So let's turn maybe now to the project focus. So all of these projects need to meet the criteria for them to be considered as eligible for this call. First, they need to fit into one of those 3 pathways that I just outlined. either developing and implementing innovative finance and insurance products, or undertaking research or developing tools that better analyze, predict, model, and reduce ocean risk. Then, if we look at the project focus, projects also need to promote the development of ocean and coastal nature-based solutions, or to mitigate risk multipliers like overfishing and pollution. They need to ensure that projects are community-led and driven by local partners. They have to include organizations from the global south as lead or supporting partners, and demonstrate that they will build stakeholder engagement. Projects also need to ensure that they're underpinned by gender equity and human rights, and support coastal communities in reducing their exposure or vulnerability to ocean risks, and accelerate the delivery of the Sustainable Development Goals. To find an indication of some of the successful projects that we're looking for, you can again take a look at our website at oceanriskalliance.org to see the types of projects we've supported so far. The geographic focus of this call for proposals is on projects that are located or deployed in coastal countries that are eligible for official development assistance and are also UNFCCC eligible. So that means that they shouldn't conflict with applicable individual and consolidated sanctions also that are set out by the United States or Canada. Special consideration will be given to projects located or deployed in small island developing states and coastal least developed countries. We evaluate projects according to a set of criteria that have been developed and accepted by the ORRAA Funder Advisory Board and Steering Council. So all of these, any proposal submitted will be evaluated by the ORRAA Secretariat with support from our co-host, the Global Resilience Partnership, and our lead science and knowledge partner, the Stockholm Resilience Centre. The assessment criteria that we use assesses projects and scores them on 7 key elements to ensure that support goes to those projects that will have maximum positive impact. And these criteria are first, the potential for impact; second, innovation; third, equity; fourth, the potential for scale and systemic change; fifth, the team composition and stakeholder engagement; sixth, review of the potential risks; and finally, additionality. Once a project has been assessed as eligible, partners will then be required to meet and adhere to ORRAA's due diligence and safeguarding standards. And the full details about our evaluation methodology and scoring mechanism are provided in the guidelines for applicants on our website. Again, this is a fully transparent process in terms of the scoring criteria that we use. Successful applicants are then eligible to receive from $5,000 US to $400,000 US over a 3-year period. And this is because projects can either be supported through seed or project grants, depending on the level of development of the project. So a seed grant, for example, is an amount of up to $10,000. And these are tailored to organizations that are looking to design an innovative solution within a 3-month period that could be eligible for future project grant funding, but aren't quite ready and need that seed funding to develop further. And then the project grants are for organizations to test and pilot or develop innovative ideas, scale up and replicate proven ideas in new contexts, and all of them are focused on an implementation timeline of up to 24 months. The call for proposals itself is currently open, and we're accepting applications through the end of the day Eastern time. Sorry, I had to calculate time zones in my head. On the 14th of August of this year, we're going to then evaluate the proposals with the aim of announcing the funded projects in November 2022, around the time of the UNFCCC COP in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. And then we will go through the process of grant agreements to focus on implementation and ensure that project delivery includes the monitoring, learning, and evaluation needed to track the contribution of this project both to ORRAA's 2030 objectives and to meet the criteria of our funder, in this case, the Government of Canada. So I'm nearly done. To apply, we would ask that you submit your project application for either seed or project grant funding on the ORRAA website. We've got a dedicated platform for it where applicants can start an application and you can complete it later. Draft applications are saved on our system and remain available for you to edit until the application window closes. To visualize all the application form sections, you can visit the application page on our website after creating your account, and then you have to select one of the two grant types, seed or project, and you'll be able to then navigate through the whole form so you can see what needs to be completed. There is a list of frequently asked questions in the guidelines for applicants. And also, of course, if you experience any technical facilities, then please email info@oceanriskalliance.org, the email that is on the slide currently, for any assistance. So I know that's a lot of information to throw at you in a short amount of time, but we really appreciate your attention and look forward to seeing applications over the next weeks. We're excited to see that those applications are already growing at the moment. Please, if you can, as Jack requested earlier, post your questions in the chat, and between Jack, Fede, and I, we will try and answer them. If we can't, we'll get back to you in writing, but we look forward to hearing your questions. Jack, back to you so we can shift immediately into that segment of the webinar.
Brilliant. Thank you, Karen. And yeah, just remind everyone, please just submit your questions as you think of them. We realized we did chuck an awful lot of information at you in the last 10 minutes, so I'm sure more will appear as we start running through. So just to begin, we have a question about a potential proposal from Ecuador, which would focus on improving the livelihoods of fisher people, because their products cannot be marketed because they do not have conservation and industrialization mechanisms. And could they present a proposal on issues of empowerment of women's economy, climate change, and climate resilience? So I can take this one first. The key criteria to think about when think about whether a project will be eligible is, does it have a financial mechanism? And that does include the development of market mechanisms to improve the resilience of coastal communities. So through that, and I would encourage you to read the additional criteria in detail, I would say that project would seem from a first glance to be eligible. And if you have any more detailed follow-up, we'd be happy to take that.
Jack, if I can just add that, as I mentioned, it might be useful, Anita, to look on our website at some of the projects we've already funded. It is really important that there is either an insurance or financial product attached to the outcomes of the project. That is critical to the funding that we have in this call for proposals and in the work that ORRAA does.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Moving on to a question from Nikki. She just wanted to confirm that organizations can apply for both the full project grant and a seed grant with different projects. So just to confirm this, so the proposals are done per project. So an organization can submit multiple proposals for different projects, and that can be to seed or project funding, or two projects, both for project funding. The key thing here is each project you submit must be distinctive. You cannot submit two parts of the same project, because we don't have, fortunately, the capacity to offer 800,000, for example, for one project. But to confirm, you can submit multiple projects as an organization. Moving on now to a message from Sally Yozel. If projects are announced at COP, which will be COP27 in November. When are they awarded, and when do you anticipate a start date? Fede, I'll hand over to you for this one.
Thank you, Jack, and hello, everyone. So in relation to that question, our aim is to announce the funded projects at COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, which happens towards mid-November. So we will need to do all the paperwork before that date. We are going to do a due diligence process and safeguarding process with the finalists, or like the short list of selected projects. And we hope that we to sign the grant agreement by the announcement date. Then the starting date for the implementation of the project, it can happen right after the grant signing, and will extend for up to 24 months.
Thank you, Fede. And the final note I would just say on that is we haven't given a precise date to kick off every single project, just purely because we realize we're working with many different organizations here with different timescales and different needs. And we just want to maintain flexibility for all of us so we can all work together in the most efficient way possible. So moving on to a question from Inma. Are plastics included within ocean pollution? Absolutely, 100%. This is a very important component of ocean pollution, and a project which looked to address ocean pollution, obviously provided it meets the additional eligibility criteria which Karen went through, would be welcomed. Moving on to a question from Tara. Am I correct in understanding that for a science and research project, it also requires a financial innovation focus? Fede, I'll hand over to you for this one.
Thank you, Jack. Yes, I confirm science and research will need to be focused on analyzing, measuring ways of reducing ocean risk. And as you might see from the previous science and research projects that we have supported before, there was always an angle relating to either the financial or insurance elements. So those are the kind of science and research projects we are looking for, but we strongly encourage you to look at the projects that we have funded so far that will give you an indication of the kind of focus and that we're trying to support in this call for proposals.
Yeah, if I could just add, because Fede, you stressed risk, which is really important, but there's also the resilience part. So there can be risk or resilience, but there needs to be an interface, again, with how that could impact on investments from either the private or the public sector into building coastal resilience and reducing risk.
Thank you, Fede and Karen. So moving on to a question from Rafaela. She wanted to confirm costs which are eligible in the budget. So in the application form, which you can go to from our webpage, if you scroll to the bottom, you will see a budget template for projects to fill out. And that budget template includes lines for main items such as personnel, travel, meeting expenses, and the expenses of consultants. It also includes a note that indirect costs cannot exceed 10% of the project. If you have any more specific questions about the budget, please send them to us in writing and we'll be happy to clarify them. But at this stage, we just need that budget template filled out, which again, you will find the template at the bottom of the application form. So moving on, we have a follow-up question from Anita, talking about whether they can apply for the two types of funding, seed funding and project funding. Anita, in your case, I would recommend you have a look at your funding needs over the next 1 to 2 years, up to 24 months, And that, along with how developed your idea is, I think that will give you an indication of which funding would be most suitable for your needs. Again, the seed funding, which is up to $10,000 US over 3 months, is really designed for organizations which have a fantastic idea, and they need the space and the resources to develop this idea into a tangible output, which they can then go to other funders to scale. Obviously, project funding, which is up to 24 months and up to 400,000 USD, is designed for projects which are already fully formulated and are ready to be implemented. So it really depends just where you see your project with regards to which would be more suitable. Moving on to a question from Christopher Lee. Regarding the geographical focus on the countries you have listed, does a project proposal have to do most of the work associated with the project budget performed at one of the listed locations? For example, if the project is developing an ocean monitoring tool and most of the R&D occurs in a lab in the US and then testing is performed at one of the sites, would that be eligible? Yeah, thank you, Chris. That is an excellent question. So the geographic criteria is that the solution be deployed or implemented in a country which is on the eligibility list. However, that being said, R&D, for example, could take place in a country not on the eligibility list. Obviously, in the eligibility criteria, we also do have very strict standards around partners. So for example, in this case, if you are doing most of the R&D in a country which isn't eligible, but you want to implement it in a country which is on the list, you would have to show that you have partners in that country which would support you in implementing this solution. And obviously the degree to which those partners are bought into the process already would directly impact how highly that proposal would score. But yes, that kind of proposal would be eligible. Okay, I think we've gone through all the questions at the moment. Oh, I say that, one has just come through.
So if I can just chime in here, Fred, I don't think we can evaluate whether something is eligible or not from the chat here. I think hopefully we've given you a lot of information. Obviously, environmental accounting and applying that to specific projects and looking at methodologies and systems is something we're very interested in. We are working on that through the policy pathway that we work on, as well as through some of the science and research. I think we would need to look at where that fits into the rest of the criteria, and again, show how that would be able to inform decisions for investments into resilience with a primary focus on nature-based solutions for countries or the private sector in various parts of the world. So I just think there's a lot of information in there, but it's quite difficult for us to respond to all of that as quickly as you probably would like, without going one way or another. So I'm going to keep it as vague as that, if that's okay, unless Fede or Jack, you have anything else to add.
No, yeah, thank you, Karen, for that. And yes, we really appreciate, obviously, you writing all this in, but at this stage, we cannot provide yes or no answers on eligibility, beyond the fact that, again, the eligibility criteria, which Karen went through, is really critical for us in when we select these projects. And then beyond that, the 7 evaluation criteria are really important. So hitting them will ensure that the project has the greatest chance of success. So I actually just received a private question. Yeah, if you do prefer to send your questions privately to one of us, please do. That's absolutely fine. which is again just asking for clarity about whether an organization can be present in multiple proposals as a supporting partner. And the answer to that is absolutely. Again, as long as the projects which you're submitting are distinct, an organization can be part of multiple, either as a lead or a supporting partner. We're really interested in the ideas. Okay, question from Imma. Would it be possible to reach out to an ORRAA email address for further queries during project development? Yes, so the email address which Karen put on the screen, and we will also paste it into the chat, which is info@oceanriskalliance.org, is the email address we are using to collect any questions we have from potential applicants about the process. If you do have questions after you've read through the website and the guidelines for applicants, which still haven't been answered, please do reach out on that email with your specific questions, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
And since we have a little pause here, I also would like to encourage everyone to sign up to the ORRAA news bulletin, which I'm going to paste the link in the chat in a second. We have other opportunities that may come up over the next few months. One of them is the Ocean Resilience Innovation Challenge. We have run 2 cycles of this challenge, that is supporting innovative solutions on the ground in the global south, and it's particularly focused on smaller scale solutions, entrepreneurs and startups on the ground. And we have just started looking at the 3rd cycle of the Innovation Challenge. So please sign up to the ORRAA News Bulletin to remain connected with us and be aware of the future opportunities.
Great. And with that, I think if there are no further questions, now that everyone can see ORRAA News in the chat as well, just to say thank you so much to all of you for participating in this webinar. It has been a pleasure to present the work that we're doing to you. We hope we've worked really hard to make sure that the materials that we have on the website to inform filling out the templates are clear and as concise as possible. And again, if you do have questions, once you've assessed and read them, to go to info@oceanriskalliance.org. And we look forward to receiving your proposals and to launching this next generation of exciting products that are going to invest in ocean and coastal resilience. So thank you all very much, and let's go ahead and hopefully see as many proposals as possible. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.